start then. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I want to thank you all for attending our webinar for this month. This is on Go Direct and Direct Express. I want to thank all the people that have helped us to put these together. And for people who have not attended webinars in the past, I'll just give you a brief orientation to it. Due to the number of participants that we usually have, we have to keep our lines muted. So you are in listen-only mode right now. But you can please feel free to ask questions via the chat function on the webinar control panel on your computer. If you have a question about something on a specific page, please note the page number, and when we take a break for questions, we can scroll back to it and look at what you were referring to. When the webinar ends, when we shut it down from our end, so please wait until we turn it off at our end. When the webinar ends, you will receive a short survey on your computer screen. If you could please just take the time to fill that out, we would greatly appreciate it. And if you would like us to mail you a certificate of participation, there's a couple of questions on there, so please leave your name and your mailing address, not the email address, but the mailing address, please. And then we will send you a certificate. For anyone who attended our last month's Week in Work webinar, we're still in the process of getting those signed. We had so many people attend that, and I have them over to Matt and Oscar right now to get them signed. So you will be getting them in the mail probably within the next couple of weeks. And now we'll move on to our webinar for today, which is Go Direct and Direct Express. We have Lauren Chernoff on the line. We have Stephanie Simon on the line from Weber Shandwick. And if I may say that this is something that's very important to us at OMH in the Office of Consumer Affairs. I know that there are a lot of people who have a lot of questions and concerns about debit cards and some of the costs and things. I've already spoken to a few people, but I think that this may not be something that's for everyone, but there are certainly people who could really benefit from this. And the most important thing is that we get information out to people so people can make informed decisions about things. And I think just one other thing, if I may, for those of us who are in the system or who have experienced a lot of isolation, not being financially literate. So this is a way to become more financially literate. When we lose that financial literacy, we become, I think, further isolated and further excluded from the society. And there are so many technological changes that are going on right now. For us to lose that and become further excluded from our societies, it just makes it tougher for the recovery process to happen. So with that, I'd like to welcome Lauren and Stephanie. Thank you, Lauren. Stephanie.
Thank you, Tony. You covered half of our presentation already. No. Definitely have the key messages down, so thank you for that warm welcome. As Tony said, Lauren and I work for Weber Shandwick. It is a public relations agency that was commissioned by the U.S. Treasury and the Federal Reserve Banks back in 2005 to launch the Go Direct campaign. We conduct all of the partner outreach, which is activity like this. We also plan events for the program, and we do media outreach as well. So our role is for the New York market. We're actually based in Chicago, but we do all of the outreach and planning and execution for New York. And we met with Tony and his colleagues at OMH earlier last year, and look forward to letting you know some more about Go Direct and the newer program, Direct Express. And please feel free to submit your questions to Tony afterwards. We're sure that you'll have some. So I'll let Lauren kick it off and just give you a quick overview of Go Direct, and then we will move on to Direct Express.
All right. Well, starting off to kind of summarize things, more than 10 million Americans still receive Social Security and supplemental security income payments by paper check. And the Treasury has two programs in place called Go Direct and Direct Express, and basically encourage federal check recipients to switch to one of the two safer and more convenient payment options. Direct deposit is happening through the Go Direct program, and this campaign helps people with bank accounts make the switch to direct deposit. And this will be the first program that we'll kind of go over in some detail. And then Stephanie will touch on Direct Express, which is for people who don't have bank accounts. and they now have a new, safer option, which is the Direct Express prepaid debit card. Direct Express actually launched back in June of 2008, and this is a program that is for the group of the unbanked benefit recipients who were inquiring about receiving direct deposit through our Go Direct call center, and back in June 2008, we were able to give them an option to receive direct deposit. Moving on to slide 3, we'd like to talk about the benefits of electronic payments. We know that they're safer, easier, and you have more control over your money or finances. Back in 2008, there were over 485,000 Social Security and SSI paper checks that were reported lost or stolen, and payments had to be reissued. We know that preventing identity theft and fraud is also a key benefit of having electronic payments. And we also know that 9 times out of 10, the problem lies with a paper check and not direct deposit. So it's really the safer way to go. We also know that electronic payments are easier. Payments go directly into the recipient's bank account or onto the Direct Express card. We also know that electronic payments offer more control to the benefit recipient. They know that their payments will arrive on time, every time, and the money arrives at the same time every month, exactly when you'd normally be receiving that paper check in the mail. On the next slide, let's highlight the Go Direct campaign. Go Direct motivates people to choose direct deposit for their federal benefits. And the way that we run the program is that Go Direct reaches out to federal benefit recipients through organizations that they know and trust. And these are called partners. And when we say partner, it's a term that describes the relationship that we have with a variety of financial institutions, community-based organizations, aging agencies, and mental health organizations. All of these partners, which is a nationwide campaign, we have over 14,000 partners that help spread the word about Go Direct to consumers throughout the nation. And here we're talking to you about New York, and we do specifically focus on some organizations that are really beneficial to consumers in the area. And actually, since Go Direct began several years ago, we've been able to move 2.5 million Americans to switch to direct deposit. So through the work with our partners, which are very important, we've been able to reach a lot of consumers. And we'll go into a bit more details about being a partner, but it's a loose term. It's anyone that's going to help us distribute information about our program. Okay, let's hone in on paper checks in New York. New York State ranks 3rd in the nation in terms of check recipients. As you can see, there are 4,800,000 Social Security checks being distributed per month and 217,000 SSI checks being distributed per month. We also know that taxpayers could save nearly $7.8 million annually if all check recipients in New York switch to direct deposit for the Direct Express card.
And that's money that would go back into the Social Security Trust Fund, in case you were wondering where that money would go.
We also have just some New York State partner highlights to share with you. These are some of the organizations that we work with in New York State, and obviously if you have any questions about how some of those agencies or organizations have participated, we're more than happy to share that with you. But as you can see, we're working with a very diverse group of partners, all helping to reach those federal benefit recipients. And now Stephanie is going to go into some more detail about the Direct Express card.
So as Lauren said, with Go Direct, we operate the Dallas Federal Reserve Bank operates a 1-800 number that people can call to enroll in direct deposit, as well as a website. And at that 1-800 number, we were receiving thousands of calls a month from individuals who received Social Security checks and wanted to switch to another form of payment, namely direct deposit, but didn't have bank accounts. And so Treasury decided to develop some sort of an alternative option for these folks in the case that they couldn't get a bank account or didn't want to have a bank account. And so that's where the Direct Express card was born back in June of 2008. We estimate that nationwide, nearly 4 million people who receive Social Security and SSI payments do not have bank accounts and therefore still receive their payments by paper check. And so the Direct Express card, what it is a prepaid debit card that's designed for these people. So instead of getting their paper check each month, they would sign up for the card, and then the money that would have been on the check is automatically loaded onto this card during the payment time each month, and cardholders can then use the card to get cash, to make purchases, to pay bills at thousands of locations nationwide, and we'll talk about the different ways that you can use the card, but it really opens up a whole new world of opportunity to a population that right now is relying on check cashing facilities and other entities that have pretty high fee structures for them to access their cash. Technically, anyone who currently receives Social Security or SSI or SSDI can sign up for the card. And we have had individuals who do have bank accounts who have elected for the card just because they think it's a more convenient, conducive way to their lifestyle to get the payment. So that's fine. Anyone who currently receives the federal benefits of Social Security can sign up for this card. The benefits of the card on slide 8 are really, as you can see, are really similar to what Lauren discussed in terms of the benefits of electronic payments in general, the safety, the convenience, the control. In terms of safety, there's now no need with the card to carry around large amounts of cash after someone goes to a check cashing facility or elsewhere to, get their cash. They usually carry around a lot of money with them, which can make them a marked target for identity theft, fraud, other activities. So there's no risk of having that check or that money stolen or lost. It's all on this card now. Convenience-wise, we'll get into this further, but you can use the card to make purchases anywhere where a debit MasterCard is accepted, which is a pretty wide-reaching vendor network. You can also get cash back at retail locations that accept debit MasterCard, at banks that are members of the debit MasterCard network, and credit unions, and also at ATMs throughout the world, and we'll talk about a little bit more about ATMs later. Control, the money is automatically posted to the card on payment day each month, just as it would be with direct deposit, so there's no need to wait for that paper check any longer at your mailbox. You can count on the fact that your money is going to be on the card at the day that you would have gotten your check, and then you're free to go out and use it to make those purchases and access your cash. On slide 9, how much does it cost to use the Direct Express card, which is a question we get very often. Most of the services associated with the card are free. There's no cost to sign up for it initially. There's no fee to maintain it monthly. And as you'll note on the second bullet there are a lot of services that are provided free of charge with this card. A couple of ones to highlight, you can make purchases at retail locations at a grocery store or a convenience store that accepts debit MasterCard, and you can get cash back at point of purchase. And there's no charge for that transaction, and you can do it as many times as you want in a month. So that's very appealing to perhaps some of your clients who live in more rural communities where there aren't a lot of ATMs or a lot of banks or credit unions. Their odds have it there's probably a retail location that they visit for their groceries or what have you, and they can get cash back at those locations, so that's a convenient option. Also, they can go into a MasterCard member bank or credit union and get cash off of the card. This kind of works like a cash advance on your credit card. So you can go into the teller and show them the card and tell them the amount that you want, and they then can take the money off of the card for you and give it to you in cash. So, and both of those, transactions are free. You can do it as many times as you want in a month to access your cash. So those are two convenient and easy options. You can go to an ATM to get cash. You get one free ATM cash withdrawal per deposit each month. So some of us know some individuals who receive 2 payments in a month, or 2 checks in a month. They would then get 1 withdrawal for each of those payments, so 2 payments they would get, or 2 withdrawals they would get. But normally you get 1 ATM withdrawal in a month, and it has to be at an ATM that's in the Direct Express ATM network, which is comprised of about 50,000 ATMs nationwide. On the Direct Express website or at the Direct Express 1877 number, you can call or enter in your zip code and find out where those ATMs are closest to you. And that's a good way to plan out, when and where you can get your cash. If you do decide to go outside of that network, there is a fee associated with that. And if you decide to make more than 1 ATM cash withdrawal in a month, there is also a fee associated with that, and we'll talk about that in the next slide. But you do get 1 free withdrawal within the network per month. Also at the ATM, you get free balance inquiries, and as many times as you want in a month. You can also call the 1877 number that is operated by Comerica Bank, or you can go online to the Direct Express website at any time throughout the month to find out how much money you have left on your card. You can also set up for free an optional notification that will let you know exactly when your payment has been put onto the card. You can also sign up for how you want to receive that notification. If you want a phone call, if you want an email, if you want a text message, these are all ways to help the cardholder balance out what they have on the card and make sure that they're aware of the money they're spending. And along those lines, you can also set up a low balance alert. So if you want to know, when you get to $50 on the card, you can sign up for that alert and also tell us how you want to receive it, phone, email, or text, and we'll go ahead and let you know. And the cardholder sets that threshold, so you can, determine what amount you want to put in place for the card. And then the toll-free number that I've mentioned a couple times now that's staffed by Comerica Bank is toll-free, and it's available 24/7. And, they will take your call and answer any questions that you have at any time. So it's a good resource for cardholders to use, especially when you first get the card and you're trying to become familiar with it. They can be a good help. In terms of the actual fees that are associated with the card, you'll note that there are a couple here we highlight. They can be charged pretty much only for optional services, so it is completely possible to use this card for free if you are familiar with the structure of the fees and you have a plan in place of how to use it. Some of the fees that are associated with the card include the ATM cash withdrawal. We discussed this briefly. If you do make more than one ATM cash withdrawal in a month, if you only receive one payment, there's a 90-cent fee that's associated with that transaction, as long as that transaction occurs at an ATM still in the Direct Express network. If you go outside the network and it's a second or even a first ATM withdrawal, you're going to be subject to the out-of-network fees of that bank that the ATM is affiliated with, which is pretty standard for any of you, that have a debit card and are familiar with that. So the key is to stay in network, and then if you have to use the ATM more than once in a month, you will incur this 90-cent fee. But again, as we discussed in the previous slide, there are other ways to access cash off this card, so it really shouldn't be necessary to use an ATM more than once in a month if you're trying to save on those fees. There is a fee associated if you want to receive a monthly mailed paper statement. This audience tends to like having things in their hands. That's why they like having the paper check. So they may be more comfortable getting a monthly mailed paper statement as you would with a credit card to see their transactions. If you choose that, it is 75 cents a month. Obviously our programs are intended to move away from paper, so we're not encouraging that. If you do want to see your transactions, you can go online. You can call the 1-877 number. You can go to an ATM. So there are other ways to access that information, but if you want a monthly paper statement, there is a fee associated with that. And then card replacement. If someone loses their card, or unfortunately if their card is stolen, you get one free replacement in a year. If it happens more than once, then there is a $4 fee for that replacement card. So that's one of the other fees associated with the card. And just quickly, we don't have a slide on it, but I wanted to touch on the safety features of the card because we are talking quickly in this section about if a card is lost or stolen. The money on the card is FDIC insured up to $250,000, just as it would be with a bank account. So that is a protection in terms of the funds on the card. Also, because the card is MasterCard branded, their zero liability policy comes into play. So if the card is lost or stolen and it's quickly reported to the Direct Express 1-877 number, the cardholder is not liable for any fraudulent transactions that happen with the card after it's been stolen or lost. So it's important to report, stolen or lost cards rather quickly so that you can make sure that that policy falls into place and that, you can get a replacement card issued so that the cardholder can, reclaim their money and have it available to make purchases and, live their monthly lives. So just wanted to touch on those quick safety features of the card.
Now we'd just like to kind of give you guys an overview as to what partner materials are available. And these are great. They're all free, which is always a huge selling point and very exciting for our partners and potential partners that want to work with us for GoDirect and Direct Express. As you can see, we have flyers, posters, newsletter copy or talking points and bullets, which you can include in publications that you send out to your clients, your staff, or just throughout your agency or organization. information. We have PowerPoint slides that you can incorporate into financial literacy presentations or workshops you may be having. And actually all these materials are also available on our website, which you can always go to for additional information. They house an abundance of information, extended frequently asked questions information, and all the materials that we talked about above. And obviously different organizations use these materials in different ways. Flyers, some organizations like to insert them in mailings that they're sending out, or they put them in lobbies. So they're kind of endless, and you can kind of do a bunch of things with our materials, whatever you think works best for the consumers that you are serving, which is really important.
And just quickly on the materials, the Go Direct information is available in English and Spanish if you do have some clients who do not speak English, and the 1-800 number for Go Direct does have bilingual representatives there as well. Direct Express is currently available in English only. We're working on a Spanish translation of those materials and that service. So in case you were serving any bilingual audiences, wanted to make that point clear.
And I think that pretty much sums it up on our end. Obviously, we'd love to open it up to all of you for questions. And we should also note we didn't give you our phone number or email address, so we can read that off to you now, and maybe Tony can get that out to those who are in attendance as well. But my name, again, is Lauren Chernoff, and my phone number is area code 312-988-2329. And my email address for any questions or materials requests is lchernoff, that's LCHERNOFF as in Frank, at Weber, WEBER, Shandwick, S as in Sam, HAND as in dog, WICK.com. So we can turn it over to Tony with questions.
Okay, thanks. One question right now is, can you put money on this card?
No. The money or the funds that are on the card are for federal benefits for Social Security only, so you cannot add money onto the card at the current time.
Okay. Okay. Is there a PIN that people need to use?
Yes, I forgot to mention that with the safety features. There is a PIN number that the cardholder designates for the card itself. If the cardholder loses the PIN or cannot remember the PIN, they can call the 1-877 number, go through a couple of security questions, and they'll be able to, receive their PIN number again. But that is another safety protection of the card.
Okay, and Lauren, can you spell your email address again?
Yes. It's L for my first name, CHERNOFF as in Frank, at Weber, WEB as in boy, ER, Shandwick, S as in Sam, HANDWICK.com. So that's lchernoff at webershandwick.com.
And also what I'll do is I usually send out, and I will this time as well, send out a follow-up email with a copy of the PowerPoint. And in that email I will add, Lauren, your email address and your phone number.
Great.
For that. So everyone here will have that as well. Another question is, what type of training and supports are available for consumers?
That's a good question. As Lauren mentioned, there are partner materials available on the website, and those are really intended for organizations, like yourself, partners, potential partners, to help communicate about the card to consumers. So there's a frequently asked questions document. There's a brochure that we have that explains the fee structure that I went over, as well as just quickly highlights some of the benefits of the card itself. Obviously, the 1-877 number is available for questions that a consumer may have. And, those are the things that we have currently available. Tanya, is there anything you wanted to add on that?
I would just say, I think you covered it. USDirectExpress.com, there are over 45 questions that can be found there with answers. So I think we've really tried to anticipate what a lot of those questions are, a lot of those usage-type questions, and you can easily find the answers on USDirectExpress.com. And to Stephanie's point, we're really asking our partners to make themselves as familiar with that as possible.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I didn't introduce you, Tanya. Could you introduce yourself for us, please?
Sure. My name is Tanya Tennyson, and I also work at Weber Shandwick.
Thank you. I'm sorry about that. So if there were some organizations that are on the line right now and they were interested in doing some trainings or providing some supports for consumers, we would be able to get them materials like you had described, like the posters and things?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And they would just contact you, Lauren?
Yes, that's correct. And then we can always work one-on-one with the organization or agency to, determine what their needs are and kind of the extent of the partnership and what they might need for their clients or consumers, most definitely.
Great. I actually have a question. What are there any like identification papers or anything like that people would need to have? Like what forms of identification would somebody need to have to sign up for it?
They obviously would need a social security number, and if they have their last check with them, that will be handy. Because you need proof that you do receive Social Security currently. But because you don't need a bank account for this, you don't need to have a bank account number or anything like that.
Can the card be canceled, and how?
Yes, the card can be canceled. You just have to call the 1-877 number and let them know that you no longer want to use the card. And then on the back end, they will inform Social Security and Treasury so that, the payment would revert back to the form in which you request it. So you can, choose to get out of the card at any point.
How is this card different than others that are already out there?
That's a good question. I think, what we've heard from talking to organizations like yours in New York and certainly throughout the country is it's a pretty unique card. There are other cards out there for benefits like it in terms of, you may be familiar with the EBT card program in New York for food stamps and other, public assistance programs. I think the biggest difference, just anecdotally, that I've heard about the card is the fee structure. Because, fees with certain debit cards can be high, and because of the fact that there are so many features with this card that are not associated with a fee, a lot of people have found it attractive for that reason. Also, the safety protections on the card, if you think about it, I mentioned the PIN, which is, a typical protection of a debit card. I mentioned the FDIC insurance, which is a typical protection of a bank account. And then the zero liability policy through MasterCard is the protection of a credit card. So you have all of those in one, which is, I think, a pretty, unique feature of the card itself.
Now, is this this is one of my questions, is this this is a federal question, or this is a federal program, right, that goes
Correct.
across all the states. It's not just New York State specific or Illinois specific or anything like that, right?
Correct. It is a federal program, and we have colleagues throughout the country who are working on other markets to get the same information out. And just for your information, how we determine where we focus our efforts is really driven by where the most paper checks are being received in the country. So New York, for instance, ranks third in the country as receiving the highest amount of Social Security paper checks today. So it's obviously a main focus area for us, and we, do this extra outreach to try and make sure that the word gets out. But in addition to our outreach and, any media attention that we get for the card or for this message in general, the Social Security Administration also works with us to issue inserts into the Social Security checks on a regular basis to let people know about, check recipients, to let them know about these other options that they can use. So it's kind of an integrated approach to getting the word out, and it's happening across the country right now.
Thanks. And I have a question on how do you put money on the card then?
Well, you can't add money to the card. So the only way that money gets on the card is through, Social Security and Treasury each month automatically loading it onto the card instead of issuing that check to you. That's the only way you can get money onto it, and then obviously there's a number of ways that you can get money off of it.
Okay, so Go Direct. So Go Direct is for people who have a bank account, right?
Correct.
And then there would be a direct deposit into the bank account, and then Direct Express is for people who don't have bank accounts, and they would have, that money would be in a like a bank account. But can you explain that part a little bit?
It kind of, if you think about it, it's like a gift card. So, you get that benefit each month, and whatever the benefit is, if it's $800 a month, you get $800 on the card, and once you use up the $800, the card kind of becomes inactive, and then it's the next month when you get your next, monthly benefit, the card will be reloaded.
How do you address the low literacy levels of some of our consumers, and what would you suggest for those individuals who need more one-to-one assistance?
That's also a very good question, and something that we've heard from a lot of state and city level agencies. I think we're still kind of figuring that out. We've learned from our work with partner organizations like yours that there is a lower financial literacy level with this audience, and so our materials, are really meant, again, for the partner to help you determine the best way to explain this information to the consumer. So we are looking for organizations that are providing more of a one-on-one counseling service, or maybe even providing financial counseling. So it's a trusted source, but it's also someone who's kind of familiar with, tackling a bigger subject like this with an audience that is a little bit less literate. I think the brochure is very, straightforward. It's plainly worded. It's upfront in terms of the fees and the lack of fees and the benefits of the card. And I think that 1-877 number can be a good guide to help, go through that. But, we really do rely, as Lauren said, on our partners to help us not only get the word out, but to also help, some of the less literate individuals that we are looking at for this card to help them understand what it is and how to use it. It is accurate to say, based on our research and what we've heard from partners, that a lot of individuals in this audience may have never used an ATM, or they may not know the difference between a debit card or a credit card. So they're going to be somewhat unfamiliar with some of these topics, and it may require a step back to have a bigger discussion about, financial management and what some of these things are before, introducing the idea of the card itself.
Okay. If the card is lost or stolen, how long does it take to get a new card?
Tanya?
I would have to look, I would have to get back to you on that. So if you want to go on to the next question, I'll get that answer.
Okay, thank you. Can you carry a zero balance?
Yes. Yes. As Lauren said, the money on the card is only the benefit payment, and that's it. You can't add money to it. If you, go through all the money in a month, then you will have a zero balance, and it will remain at zero until it automatically reloads on your next payment. And, there's it is like a bank account, but it isn't. There are no overdraft fees. So let's say, you have a zero balance and you try to use the card. It's not like you're going to be assessed a fee for that. It will just, the transaction will be denied because there's no funds on the card. But you won't be assessed a fee or anything like that for that. So you can carry a zero balance, and it is okay to do that.
Is there a charge for if you cancel the card?
No.
No.
And it looks like we need a little more clarification on how we load up the money on the card. So so I'll read the question directly. How do you load the card? Does someone get a new card every month or go to an ATM to load the card?
No, once you sign up for Direct Express for the card, you get one card, and that's your card. And each month, what happens is on the back end, Social Security, who would have issued the check, is communicating with Treasury, and Treasury is telling them, we're going to release this money for the payment, but instead of doing the check, Treasury is going directly to Comerica Bank, who operates the Direct Express card, and says, put this onto the card. So they're doing all of the loading on the back end. So the consumer, the cardholder, does not load any money on the card at all. They can only take money off the card.
Just going back to the question about how long it takes to receive your card, as soon as it is reported, a new card will be issued and mailed out to you. If people are interested, they can pay to have that overnighted, and if you look at the brochure, the pamphlet, it's very clearly laid out that that is an additional charge for overnight delivery.
Alrighty. Thanks. I don't have any, I got another question coming in, but while that's coming in, so let me ask you a question here. So like my wife's like a hippie, so she's like, we're trying to like recycle and we do these things, but then when it comes to paying bills, she's pretty old school, got to use the stamp and the paper and all that stuff. So I've been trying to work on like, there are bills, that come in, like our phone bills and our cable bills and our utility bills. You can do like a recurring paperless billing through the bank. Is that something that you can use this card for? Can you use this card to automatically pay your bills if you set that up with your utility company?
Tanya?
I believe the answer to that is yes, and it just depends on the utility company.
Right. So, like, if they accept
MasterCard.
Right.
Correct.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay. Let's see. If you already have a similar card, how long does it take to change from that card to this card?
I don't think there are similar cards like this out there for federal benefits. So that's not Tanya, do you have any input on that one?
Well, I think what you're saying is, what if someone is already on some type of a debit card that is not the Treasury recommended Direct Express card? And I don't know the specifics about that, but I guess I would just recommend that that person contact the Direct Express card, use the customer service number, and they would walk that person through the process and give them a very specific time frame. I think it would probably depend on where they are in the month also, but that would be very clearly spelled out to the person or their representative payee.
Okay. Do you have that number handy? Because I think one of our folks tried contacting that number, and that it was a fax number, is what they said. Do you have that number, the customer service number, handy? I could just type that out to folks.
Hold on one second. I have GoDirect memorized. I don't have Direct Express memorized yet. Hold on one second.
So you can call 1-877.
All right.
212-9991. That's the card. That's the number to enroll. So again, they would be able to walk you through that situation where you're trying to transfer from, get rid of an older card and transfer to this card.
The other thing we should mention is that the GoDirect and Direct Express 1-800 and 1-877 numbers are linked. So if someone were to call GoDirect, maybe they were confused about, what their options were or wanted more information about the card that they called GoDirect, the GoDirect operator can transfer them over to Direct Express. So and vice versa. So they are connected.
Does this have anything to do with the IDAs, I believe? Is this related to that at all?
No.
No, okay. Could you do me a favor? I think you had mentioned at one point, either in this training or a previous one, just how much we spend on the paper money or the paper checks and the mailing and all that, how much we're spending and how much we could save, and then where does that go back into?
It's approximately 93 cents to print and issue each of these Social Security checks each month. So, just as Lauren said, if you think about it in perspective, in New York alone, you're talking about, about 700,000 checks a month times 93 cents times 12 months in a year. So that's where that 7.8 million savings. If all of those people switch to some other form of payment, either direct deposit or the Direct Express card, 7.8 million would be saved in New York State. If you bring that out to the national level, we estimate there's about 10 million people still receiving paper check. If they all switched, the savings is about 130 million nationwide, and all of that money goes back into the Social Security Trust Fund.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Okay, so we've got a comment here. It would be great if you provided training and support for peers to train consumers on the use and provide natural support.
We've definitely gotten that feedback before. Does that person have any recommendations in terms of what format those training materials should be in? Would it be, a fact sheet? Would it be a video? Would it be a portion of a website? If there's any recommendations there, that would be helpful to share.
Okay. Yeah, there will be some follow-up emails that come out, and what we can do is the person who asked that question, if they have any suggestions or anything. And also at the end of the training today, there'll be a survey, and you can put in any comments or any further follow-up that you would like from either myself or from Lauren and Stephanie.
And to kind of go along with that, we can always, if there's a staff, an agency that is interested in having, more of a formal training session like we're doing now, we're, happy to talk with that agency, set something up with staff if that would better inform them to communicate this information too.
Right. To Lauren's point, GoDirect has worked well with the partner infrastructure. It's kind of like a train-the-trainer model. So we've done a lot of presentations like this or imparted enough information onto a partner that they can turn around then and present it or, relay it to a consumer. So we're hoping a similar model will work with Direct Express, but it's helpful to have feedback as to how that process might be easiest, easily accomplished with your agency.
Okay, so we actually have a couple of suggestions already in regards to how we could provide some training and support.
Great.
So an actual training, I guess, versus the webinar. So an actual face-to-face training where people are invited to come and be trained. And okay, sorry, it's kind of coming in a little broken. So so you all do face-to-face trainings with partners?
Not as frequently as we do these. We get out to New York probably 2 or 3 times a year. So it just depends on scheduling. It's obviously much easier for us to do it this way. But we can also, send materials and have stuff in front of you in addition to the PowerPoint, like sample, brochures and things that we can help walk you through and talk about how to talk about them with consumers. So there's different formats that we can do, but typically the in-person ones happen much less frequently.
Do you have a DVD or other media to help with the training or no?
We have a public service announcement. For GoDirect, we have like a promotional type of video that you could run in a waiting room, for example. Those are the two forms that we have right now.
And do we have any materials to accommodate people with physical disabilities such as blindness and deafness?
Not currently, we don't.
And then one more question is, it says, can you train a peer to train other peers at a training here in New York? In other words, have a peer become a trainer. So train the trainer, but that person would be a peer.
Well, and when you say peer, what do you mean? Is it like as a consumer themselves?
Yes.
We haven't done those before. We typically, through the partner structure, rely on the partners once we've given them the information to then impart it to consumers. We have worked with other organizations that are a peer-to-peer model, like RSVP, for example, with seniors, working with other seniors. For GoDirect, we've given them brochures and materials to pass on, but we did that through the partner organization. So we haven't done a training like that before to date.
But if an opportunity arose where we could reach a lot of people at one of our conferences, we could ask you if you were.
Yeah, we can consider it. We'd have to discuss it and determine the best the best who would best be the person to share that information and in what form, and so it would take some time, but it's something we would definitely consider.
Okay, and then we have statewide. I'm just kind of thinking out loud, which maybe I shouldn't do. But we have statewide agencies here, and there might be a way that we could do a train-the-trainer with those folks too.
Yeah. I mean, we're happy to do as many of these as you'll have us for.
Thank you. All righty. I have an invitation already.
Okay.
Wonderful.
If you get in contact with Lauren, we can talk about specifics and audience and date and time and format. And, we shortened this presentation for the time length. We have longer versions. We can talk about different things.
Now, this is for the 2009 Peer Specialist Conference in New York City in June. And I know that our folks have, when I say our folks, I mean the regional recipient affairs specialists have this would be my second or third time, I think, hearing your information. So Celia is down there, and she's already received the information, but she's going to be very busy putting this all together. So I'm sure one of us could probably participate in that.
Yeah, that sounds great.
All right. Okay. Are there any other questions? I don't see any here, and I can't think of any.
Well, if you think of any other questions, email Lauren or get in touch with Tony, and he can connect you to us.
Yep.
And definitely check out the websites, either godirect.org or usdirectexpress.com, because all the information we talked about and samples of all the materials, if you want to download them and take a look at them, are all available there.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed one. I did miss one. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Let's see. How is GoDirect different from what the direct deposit process used now, or is it the same?
GoDirect is just the name of the campaign that is encouraging direct deposit. So anyone who is receiving Social Security and has a bank account at any bank can call, but is not using direct deposit, can call the GoDirect 1-800 number or go onto the GoDirect website, enter in their bank account number and necessary information, and then the Federal Reserve Bank in Dallas, who runs that program, will communicate with their bank to let them know that from now on, you need to be doing direct deposit for this customer. So that's kind of how it works. It's just the name it's the branding of the program. But the direct deposit itself works the same. And anyone at any bank or any credit union can do this.
Okay. I think we got them all then. Okay, well, Stephanie, Lauren, and Tanya, thank you very, very much for the information today. I really appreciate it, and hopefully we will find there will be some people here who would like to partner with us and do some more trainings and spread the word to folks.
Great. Thank you very much for organizing this, Tony.
Sure, no problem. I would like to ask you one more favor, if you wouldn't mind advancing the slide to the next slide. I want to thank everyone for coming today. I hope you've got all your questions answered. I hope this was informative for you and helpful for you and for your organizations and the people that we serve, as well as our friends and family. And I also would like to let people know that our next month's webinar will be the ABCs of OMH. So this is for consumers and families who interact and advocate with our office, the Office of Mental Health. It can be very confusing and frustrating to understand some of the language that we use, and especially the acronyms that we use. So this webinar is going to go through some of the more common acronyms that we use, as well as do an overview of the organizational structure of OMH. And we may get into some of the new additions to our website that have made things a lot more user-friendly. Although the search function is still pretty useless. So, if I may be very frank. So please don't use the search function on our website. Our presenter will be Digna Quinones from New York City. She's our regional advocacy specialist down there, and that's going to be on June 24th. And there is the registration information. So I want to thank everyone again for coming. Stephanie, Tanya, and Lauren, I want to thank you all very much for taking the time to join us today. And I will say good day to everyone. And again, please wait. We'll turn this off, and then you will end up with there'll be a survey for you to fill out if you would like a certificate, and if you could give us some feedback and if you had any additional questions. Thank you very much, everyone. Bye-bye.